Next generation meteorologist Joe Shock here with the tropical update for November 5th, 2022. And we have, I wouldn't say a lot, but certainly an area of interest over here. There is another area here in the north central Atlantic. However, though, that will be heading out to sea and not be an impact to any land areas as of now and not really a concern overall. So let's spend our attention here with this going on in the southwest Atlantic. Talked about this a couple of days ago on the 1st of November. Was a interesting feature, but now it is becoming something of a little bit more concern. And you can see here what I think is going to be development over the next couple of days. Probably, I would say now likely a tropical storm and possibly, depending on the evolution of the setup, maybe even a low, I'm going to say a low chance of a low-end Category 1 hurricane off the east coast of Florida. And again, you can see this big high, and you'll see this in the guidance that would take a look at it. But the big surface high and the relatively low pressure with this trough that's coming through the plains, which will begin to set up some very interesting steering currents over the next couple of days. So let's take a look at the European, the MJO going through phase 7 now, coming into the null phase, and then, longer term looping back around to phase 6, might be by 5 and 6 towards the middle and end of the month. But however, though, as we go into phase 7, and come out of phase 7, in and out of phase 7, that pretty much is not going to be related to the tropics. So that is one less thing that we have to be looking at. So it's in the null phase like it is here. There's no real tropical forcing going on. So that is one thing we can not worry about. However, though, you can see a phase 6 and 7 is shutting down. However, let me go back and look at that. I guess if it moves quick enough, I guess if it amplifies enough and were to get able to 4 and 5, you can see some enhancement along the East Coast. But overall, the MJO is not going to be driving the pattern over the next week or so, and that's when the timeline of this tropical feature will be. This will be more of a hybrid, development. So overall, you can see the water temperatures are quite warm relative to normal, in this area in the southwest Atlantic, 1 to 2 Celsius above normal, and of course, in the northwest Atlantic, 5 to 10 degrees Celsius above normal. So water temperatures are several degrees warmer than they should be. The ocean heat content in the southwest Atlantic is very high. And of course, this supports development, and some of the model tracks take it right along the Gulf Stream where there's ocean heat content to the mid-Atlantic coast. So that is a very interesting situation if that solution were to pan out. And this other guidance, which is a little bit further west and weaker, which take it into the Gulf of Mexico, where there is also ocean heat content, but more land interaction will be occurring. So that is something that, of course, needs to be looked at. Ocean temperatures, not an issue. Low 80s, you can see the Gulf Stream right in through here. So plenty of fuel for whatever this is. Now, I do believe this is going to get named. There's some possibility that it doesn't, but seeing everything that I see, the warm core, where it's developing, that's still in the hurricane season, I have a pretty much 99% confidence that they're going to name this, most likely named Nicole. That's the next name on the list here. However, though, the other feature that is out here, you never know if that gets more pronounced. Maybe they get that Nicole name, first up here. But no matter what the name of this thing is, it's going to have impacts down the road. Now, here's the JMA from Thursday. You can see the blue here is upward motion. So there's air rising in the atmosphere. You can see how the model sees this area off the Florida coast of enhanced precipitation. Some other feature, which is part of like this whole thing that is coming through the Caribbean, will help, really consolidate this thing. And more importantly, you can see the large-scale upper-level ridging to the north over this area here in the south. So that classic ridging over the troubled water look is a pretty known pattern to get these things fired up. So it looks like that's going to work out quite nicely for the upcoming week. And I'm quickly going to show here week 2, whatever this is leaving the scene, and the ridge is slowly beginning to back down, but still remains pretty prominent over the eastern part of the United States going into middle part of November. Now, let's take a look at some of the guidance here operationally. Here is the 18Z NAM. You can see hour 84. And I know a lot of people say don't use the NAM. However, though, I think the NAM is actually going to do a pretty good job with this particular situation, given the fact that this very well could be a hybrid, so it may be a little bit better for the model physics to handle the exact evolution of this thing. And also, the NAM has actually done a pretty good job with the last couple of storms, and I've been, at least I've been pleased with the NAM's performance. So we'll see how it does with this case, but you could see earlier Wednesday morning a mid-grade tropical storm just to the east of the Bahamas there, moving off to the west. So there's the surface. Now, why I think this is going to develop, and there's a threat, and that's why I showed those ocean temperatures, why I'm afraid there's a threat that this could become a hurricane. All righty? Almost a hurricane on the NAM. Again, probably a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm at this point. Now, what we'd like to look at is upper air dynamics to make sure there's no wind shear cutting across a developing tropical cyclone, because if there's wind shear cutting across a developing tropical cyclone like this, the system can't organize, it can't consolidate, and the thunderstorm activity gets all shuffled around and it can't focus that energy, lower the pressure, and that process repeats. So what we're looking at here is the wind speeds at about 35,000 feet or so, and as you can see, there are very weak winds here, mainly under 20 knots, so that is solid, and even some of the other guidance I've looked at, even as low as 10 knots. So there is favorable wind shear and a favorable upper level pattern called anticyclonic flow on top of the surface flow pretty much here. So that helps to ventilate the system at all levels of the atmosphere. So this is a really solid upper level pattern, not only by the NAM, but several of the other guidance products as well, which we'll be taking a look at, but you can see there what the NAM looks like. Here's the European, same kind of thing. You can see that nice anticyclonic flow, nice outflow channel right there. So there's air being pulled away from the system. And you can see here that all of these guidance products, you have this large upper trough digging in over the western part of the United States. And there's that large ridge over the east and into southern Canada. So this is a perfect spot to be ventilated from several directions. The GFS, same kind of thing, nicely ventilated. Some outflow channels being established with this thing in its early stage. That's what makes this very dangerous, in my opinion. We're over 82, 83, 84 degree water, very low wind shear, very good upper level pattern, and put all those things together, and you can have a system that potentially could develop rather quickly with short notice, especially if it's going to be threatening land like it is going to be here, at the very least the Bahamas, if not a good chunk of the state of Florida towards the middle of this upcoming week. So you can see what the GFS looks like there at 250, and rarely I show the Canadian, but I thought it would be a good model to show because it's in line with the other guidance, and same kind of thing there. You can see the anticyclonic flow over the system and a nice outflow channel developing to the north of the system. So overall, very good divergence aloft. Looking at some ensemble data, this is the 12Z GEFS. You can see the system here coming through central or southern Florida. We'll see if it gets this far west and then it takes off to the northeast as it phases in with this big trough that's going to be coming through the coming out of the west into the east towards the end of next week. You can see some members are quite strong here in Florida, 50, 60, even 70 knot members, and same thing here up in New England, 50, 60, if not even a 70 knot member. You can see right there that orange line over southeast Mass. So this is a concern for me at least, and should be a concern for others, especially in the state of Florida, where they will be impacted first by the system. And the latest GFS operational actually keeps this thing off the Florida coast entirely, and it has this thing almost a category 2, I would say a strong category 1 hurricane just southeast of Nantucket late next week. So it's certainly on the table that this, stays further offshore, like the European 12Z ensemble show, which I have right here. Most of them, and now for some reason, not all of the members are being plotted on here. But one thing that I have noticed, and also shows up here, relatively good on the GFS and the European, is the weaker the system is over the coming days, the more west it can get, and that's because it's being driven by the low-level flow, which is more east to west. So the wind is coming in the lower few thousand feet of the atmosphere is an easterly moving west, so that system is caught in that. It can go west, move over Florida, and certainly hinder its development. However, though, if the system is stronger, which some of the guidance suggest, again, that 18Z GFS operational is on the stronger side for the moment, and it looks like the NAM as well, the 18Z NAM, and actually the last couple runs of the NAM seem to be on the stronger side of the current guidance that is available for the system. If it is stronger, it's being driven more by the mid and upper level flow, more of a, I would say, southeasterly, southerly flow, and then eventually southwesterly flow. And that would certainly, potentially have a higher chance of keeping it off the mainland of Florida. And if this does stay off the mainland of Florida on the east side, then I really do think it could get a quite strong, certainly a category 1, not out of the question given it's over some very warm water. The Gulf Stream and the upper dynamics are improving as this moves north. So a very interesting steering pattern coming up over the next couple of days. We'll have to see how this exactly evolves. So finally, as we wrap up here, taking a look at the European tropical cyclone probabilities, you can see the probabilities here as we head through the early part of the week and then late next week into the weekend. You can see the spread is quite large, giving, again, we're talking something that's 7 to 9 days away, quite a spread in the ensembles. But you can see the threat, Florida to Massachusetts, late next week into the weekend. So certainly we have a busy couple of days ahead. That's it for now, and thank you for watching.